trying to kill this gnat for 3 days. His name's Reggie. If you see him flying around, pay him no mind. We'll deal with him when we get it. Once again, of all the things that you could be doing right now, you've landed back here in the dimly lit corner of questionable coping skills and weirdly timed jokes. Welcome, all of you emotionally codependent legends, back to the S.H.I.F.T show. And yes, your eyes do not deceive you. This is a Hawaiian shirt that is all bluey. And if you don't love that, well, you should, because that's what the S.H.I.F.T show is all about, peer pressuring you into loving bluey shirts. If you're new here, welcome to the corner of the internet where we unpack life's messiest shit, laugh at it, and try not to rage quit life when we get back out into public. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. I hope that means that you're learning something, or maybe you just like watching me mentally unravel in HD. Either way, I'm glad you're here, because today we're going to talk about you. And you. That's right, you. And me, your mom, my mom, your DoorDash driver, your boss's mistress, the guy who opened the door for you this morning, your brother's ninth grade girlfriend, everybody. Nobody's off limits today, because today we're talking about the beautiful tragedy that is our existence. The smartest and dumbest animal on planet Earth. The greatest gift and most horrible thing to happen to Earth and mankind. Yes, people. People are the best and worst part of life's equation. Let's be honest about that. We create mind-blowingly beautiful art. We cure diseases. We build rocket ships. We heal hurting souls. Literally keep hearts beating. But we also argue on social media like a bunch of chimpanzees who just yesterday learned how to open up a computer. We are a species that is equally capable of empathy and genocide. We're capable of love and torture. We're capable of charity and cancel culture. And most of that usually happens before breakfast. We invent languages to connect with each other, and then we weaponize it to destroy each other. We preach kindness on the internet while publicly humiliating strangers for sport. We build religions to find meaning, and then we go to war with people whose invisible friend is not as good or as real as ours is. And listen, don't get mad, okay? Your religion is one of over 4,000 in human history, okay? So either a lot of people, like billions of people, are wrong, or most don't realize that they're worshiping a similar thing, or maybe even the same thing, just with different ideas, right? Humanity is a paradox of emotionally advanced cavemen. We just have Amazon Prime and anxiety disorders now. We cry over dog videos, but scroll straight past human suffering like it's a commercial that we don't want to watch. We talk about mental health. At the same time, we bully someone until they need therapy. We call people snowflakes for having the same exact feelings that we often repress, all while having meltdowns over paper straws. We're brilliant little hypocrites, all of us, and on all sides. I don't care who you are or what side you're on. And the thing is, we're all self-aware enough to know, better at least, but we're too impulsive to care. We crave connection, but fear being seen, like really seen. We build emotional walls and then struggle with loneliness. We want honesty, but only if it doesn't hurt our feelings. We tell people to just be yourself and then judge them for doing exactly that. We claim to hate drama, and yet we shove it into our ears like we need it to breathe. We post quotes about peace and then start comment section wars that could literally qualify for military funding, especially in this political atmosphere and administration. Humans are, how do I want to say this? Humans are confused meat wagons running on caffeine and unresolved childhoods. We want love without the vulnerability. We want validation without the effort. And we want the healing without the accountability. Any of that sound familiar? And we wonder why the world around us feels so broken all the time. Well, spoiler alert, it's us. We're the problem. It's us. And yes, that was a Taylor Swift reference, and get over it, okay? Also, if just hearing the name Taylor Swift throws you into a psychological tornado, just think about that for a second. I'll leave that there. We've turned our opinions into our identities. We've turned our outrage into our hobbies. Half of us are exhausted from pretending that we know everything, all while the other half is too proud to admit that we don't. We call it doing our own research, when really we just found a meme that agrees with us, and now we're validated experts. We confuse algorithms for wisdom, and we confuse followers for real friends. We preach freedom while trying to control everything that makes us uncomfortable, and we're completely blind to it. We've built entire personalities out of trauma, politics, and caffeine intake. We label each other, we divide ourselves, and we defend nonsense. And we wonder why peace feels like some kind of mythical idea. And this isn't just politics, okay? This is pathology. Oh, yes, we do science here. We love to say that facts don't care about your feelings, but then have meltdowns when the facts aren't as flattering as we would like for them to be. We call everyone sheep while grazing out of the same exact outrage farms that feed us the dopamine that we hunt for every day. We think that opinions equate to expertise and loudness equates to truth. We've replaced wisdom with Wi-Fi and nuance with hashtags. We diagnose strangers from TikToks. We quote therapy buzzwords like they're scripture, and we weaponize boundaries to justify being assholes. We do. We crave belonging so badly we'll join cults just to feel seen. It's not like humanity is necessarily short on intelligence. On the contrary, we're just starving for introspection. You see, we're geniuses at everything except for self-awareness. If you hear that screaming, it's probably a chicken outside. We've mastered technology that took my ADHD, and we're going on a trip now, okay? Where was I? We've mastered technology, but we haven't yet mastered our own temperament. We can send rovers to Mars and collect data on Mars, but we can't send a decent text back to somebody who cares about us. We've built machines that can think, but how often do we think before we open our mouths sometimes? Hell, we scroll past reality and chase validation like lemonade on a hot summer's day. We worship productivity while burning our own souls out. And there's going to be people listening to this right now going, pot, meet kettle. We measure our self-worth in likes, followers, and the amount of hours that we work every week. And we wonder why anxiety is just a new baseline for a lot of us. We crave purpose, but we fear the silence that would help us find it. We fill every quiet moment of our lives with noise because silence makes us confront ourselves. And being alone with your own thoughts, I'll take a big fat hell no for 500, Alex. We've mistaken busyness for meaning and mistaken distraction for peace. Especially somebody like me who has the flavor of ADHD that comes with having a YouTube video playing in the background of my entire life. And we don't really reflect, do we? It's more like we just refresh. We chase happiness like it's hiding right over there in the next notification. And hell, we've forgotten how to be still, how to sit with our own thoughts without needing to perform them all the time, says the guy who's actively performing his thoughts on a podcast. The truth is, most people aren't scared of failure. They're scared of meeting the version of themselves that comes with it. Shoo-wee. I hope you read your horoscope this morning. We're going to get into some feelings today. You see, we are living in an era where reality has a filter on it. And truth, it depends on the lighting that we're using. People are out here editing their breakfast, their grief, their kids, their marriage. Hell, even our pets have highlight reels. We've built entire lives around optics instead of outcomes. Hell, you can rent a set that has a private jet on it just to take pictures. Seriously, we've become so obsessed with looking fulfilled that we've forgotten how to actually be fulfilled. Meanwhile, the average person checks their phone about 150 times a day. But don't check in with their own emotions but once a year. Speaking of unaddressed emotions, let's talk about mental health. Real mental health, not Instagram mental health, the kind that doesn't fit inside your comfort zone, because that's what this show is all about. And speaking of which, why is it that when someone doesn't fit our comfort zone, they automatically get labeled as crazy? Have you ever noticed that? Well, if that's the case, then we're all cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And listen, this ain't ego talking, okay? This is doctoral level analysis of human behavior and mental health talking. That's not true, okay? In fact, do you know that clinical professionals and psychologists, we don't use the term crazy? Nobody in the mental health system uses the word crazy, and it's not a stigma thing. We don't say it because it's not even a clinical term. There's no place for the word crazy in our language. The only people who use it don't study or practice in the clinical field. And if they are, and they do, they shouldn't be. No, only the people who don't know what to call what they're looking at use the term crazy. And that's not an insult, okay? Ignorance is ignorance. I'm not calling you stupid. I'm informed in this field and ignorant as hell in damn near everything else. Just walk with me here. How many times have you said or heard somebody else say, that person over there's crazy? Not crazy like they're hearing voices and they're responding to it in front of you, crazy, which has its own clinical term, by the way. I mean crazy as in different. You know, the kid who's gay, the girl who has blue hair, the trans coworker that you whisper about with your other coworkers because you just don't get it, the guy who voted differently than you did, the woman who still goes to church, the woman who doesn't go to church anymore. We slap the same word, crazy, on all of it because we can't handle anything that challenges our own illusion of normal. If our brain does not have a point of reference to what it is examining, it goes to what it knows. It goes to what is familiar. I don't know what that is. I don't understand it. And since I'm me and my worldview is the only one that I see, well, that thing over there must be crazy. Are we tracking yet? The DSM-5, which is basically the clinical Bible of psychiatry, lists like 297 recognized mental disorders. That's nearly 300, which means there are nearly 300 different ways for a human mind to bend under pressure, with an abundance more that we still don't fully understand yet. But instead of trying to understand that, we've turned mental health into a blame game. Everyone we disagree with, well, they must just have something wrong with them. It's psychological warfare disguised as self-righteousness. And it's a friggin' mental plague if you look around and you think about it. Some of you are boiling right now because of just some of the words that I just said. Maybe you should explore that. And don't worry, I'm not attacking anybody here, okay? I'm simply saying that we further complicated an already complicated topic in mental health when we decided to politicize pain, when being depressed became a weakness, when being different became a threat, when we traded our empathy for algorithms that only show us reflections of our own opinions. If you haven't caught on to that yet, I have a lot of news for you, so just stick around. Everything has become a diagnosis or a debate. among everyone who are not mental health professionals and they're not politicians. Trigger warning here. Okay, this might be uncomfortable, but you want to know things, you want to know how things like school shootings happen. They don't just start with the evil person doing the evil thing. Okay? Something has to lead up to that. They start with emptiness. And before any of you internet warriors try to claim that I'm defending school shooters, just shut up. Go away. I'm saying that people aren't born with a blueprint that naturally evolves into an inevitable monster. It happens when someone experiences years, decades even, of rejection, of feeling like they're invisible, of humiliation, or of just silence at home. They start off in schools that have metal detectors but don't have any mental health counselors in sight. It starts off in homes where kids learn fear before anybody even teaches them language. They learn things about the world, about the people in it, and about themselves that aren't true. And eventually that pain has to go somewhere. So they become extreme. They become easily radicalized by hateful ideologies because no one ever cared enough about them to teach them otherwise. That doesn't justify anything. That doesn't justify the horrific acts, and they deserve the full weight of whatever hell comes their way, because ignorance doesn't negate consequences. It's still their fault that they did what they did. But if they'd met all the right people along the way, like maybe you and I did, maybe their life would have turned out different. Maybe other people wouldn't have had to suffer out of their pain and out of the actions that their pain fueled. How about gangs? Where do they come from? Well, from a brain standpoint, that's the same psychology, just in a different zip code. Gangs come from the disenfranchised, angry, disconnected people finding the only version of belonging that exists in their world. Because when society doesn't offer them purpose, their pain will. What about cults? Well, if you promise a large collection of people certainty in exchange for their critical thinking, poof, you have community. You have instant belonging. You have instant hope. And it doesn't have to be religious. It can be political. It can be based on ideology. Whatever flavor of false clarity is trending this week can be used to create that mindset. We're not joining faiths anymore. We're subscribing to identities. See, people used to knock on doors with pamphlets, and now they just witness their Jehovah straight into your social media algorithm. We've made it so easy to get converted to anything. All it takes is a headline that either validates your insecurity, a video that confirms your bias, or a community that tells you you're special for being awake while everyone else is asleep. Well, congratulations, you have found yourself a cult. Although oftentimes it's called a movement. And through all of it, we're all still pretending and keep pretending that we're the sane ones, the rational ones, that we somehow, some way, received the perfect version of life, the one that got the beliefs right, the one that got the opinions right, the one that got the politics right, the one that got the religion right, the one that got the flavor of morality right. Out of 8.5 billion people on this planet, we personally cracked the code. Everyone else, well, they must be crazy or misled or lost or wrong. That's interesting, isn't it? You, me, and everyone listening, we convince ourselves that we're rational and they're insane. That's how we sleep at night. Because if we admitted that maybe we're all just coping differently with the same buffet of bullshit, the mirror might get a little too clean to look at. Let's explore this concept a little deeper. Have you been to every country? Have you met every single person? Have you studied every single religion? Every political theory? Every cultural framework? Have you read every book? Have you lived every life? Sat in every classroom? Have you worked every job? No? Do you really think that your handful of experiences and untested opinions in the vastness of this life equates to universal truth? Really? Of course not. But it sure feels that way, doesn't it? Why is that? Well, because certainty is intoxicating. So it's worse than booze. It makes you feel like you're safe in a chaotic world. And when your entire sense of identity is built on feeling right, new information isn't education anymore. It's a threat to what you already know. So we build castles out of confirmation bias. And would you like to know what we call them? Morals. That's why we don't have decent conversations anymore. Nobody's talking to each other anymore. We're just waiting for our turn to correct everybody else. We don't ask questions anymore. We interrogate. We don't listen anymore. We just reload. It's not discourse, it's emotional dodgeball, and every single one of us thinks that we're the referee. Meanwhile, the planet's on fire. Communities are being washed away. Economies are imploding. People are literally starving to death. Human beings are being assassinated for saying words that people don't like. And here we are, arguing online about pronouns and paper straws. We can't see past our own reflection long enough to realize that nobody's winning this stupid game. I used to think that the world's biggest problem was hate. I'm starting to think that it's actually ego more so than it is hate. And I think it's because everyone's fighting to be the main character in the same damn story. Hell, maybe none of us are sane. Maybe we're all crazy. Maybe we're just defending our own brand of delusion. But if that's the case, and if everyone's crazy, well then, nobody is. Maybe we should just stop trying to prove that we're right all the time and start to finally get curious enough to ask ourselves why we feel like we always need to be. Because the truth is, nobody's completely sane. How could we be? We're all overstimulated. We're all underconnected. We're all emotionally constipated. And we're medicating our existential dread with Amazon Prime deliveries and true crime podcasts. Tell me I'm wrong. Everybody has something going on. So maybe mental health isn't about who's crazy or who's broken. Maybe it's about who's still pretending not to be. Because in a world this damn divided, the real miracle isn't becoming sane in the middle of all of it. It's having compassion in spite of it. You see, certainty used to just be a survival mechanism for your brain to feel at home in whatever environment that you're in. Now it's a personality trait. We don't just have beliefs anymore. We are those beliefs. Our politics, our faith, our sexuality, our outrage, they've become our mental armor, our defensive membrane, and we wear them like bulletproof vests that are made out of insecurity. Terrified that if we ever took them off, we might have to figure out who we are underneath it. We've built a world where identity has become currency, and victimhood is leverage to use against folks. All the while, people are collecting labels like they're frickin' trading cards. Here's my diagnosis. Here's my ideology. Here are my pronouns. Here are my thoughts about pronouns. Here's my political affiliation. Here's my attachment style. Now, not that any of that is inherently bad, but it's data. It's good that we know those things about ourselves, but it's information. It's data, and we have confused data with who we are, with our identity, and those things are not synonymous. We've convinced ourselves that we cannot exist in the same space as people who see the world differently than we do. So we cut them off. We delete them from social media. We tell other people they've gone crazy the second we learn of a difference that we can't see past, when the truth is we need those people. We need the conflict sometimes because conflict refines truth. Disagreement builds depth. We don't want depth anymore. We just want dominance now. We just want to be known as the right one. We don't even want to learn anymore. We just want to win. We want people to see what we post on Facebook because it's right. Like we're introducing the world to our infinite knowledge. And if they don't take it, well, they're never going to be as smart as we are. Are you seeing it yet? No? Okay. That's why social media feels like a middle school hallway. Everybody's performing confidence while simultaneously dying for approval. Every post is a plea. Please see me. Please agree with me. Please validate me. And please worship me. And when someone doesn't, we act like we have been personally betrayed by a complete stranger. We've traded community for competition. And it's slowly, well, maybe not as slow anymore, but it's eating us alive. It's why empathy has become a liability. It's treated as weakness now, like being able to understand another person's pain is somehow a character flaw. But making fun of empathetic people, well, that gets you a seat at the cool kid table. See it yet? Okay, still going. If you show compassion online, someone instantly jumps into your comment sections calling you soft. Soft as tissue. You're naive. You're confused. Meanwhile, the same people preaching toughness are melting down in traffic because someone cut them off. Points finger at self. We've forgotten that empathy is our humanity. That you can understand someone without agreeing with them. You can love them without necessarily aligning with them on every topic. But that kind of maturity requires humility. And humility is not trending at the moment. Speaking of trending, how about the algorithm of it all? Beyond just the social media posts. I think it's called social engineering, right? Your feeds, they're not showing you the world. They're showing you your world. It's a mirror with you looking back. It's a perfectly curated, bias-confirming reflection that's designed to keep you scrolling on the app because the app knows what you like, how long you watch it, and how often you come back. And they show you all of that stuff because outrage is profitable. Division is scalable. Fear is contagious. And people don't even realize that they've been radicalized. And again, I don't mean just politically or religiously, but emotionally radicalized. Our nervous systems are permanently in fight or flight mode while our souls are stuck on the loading screen. I mean, think about this. Every single day, we wake up to another global crisis. War, climate issues, corruption, mass shootings, inflation, exploitation, and what do? We make memes. We share our outrage with everybody who's already mad at the same shit. We post thoughts and prayers in one tab and click add to cart in the next. Yes, he said it. There's no need to rewind. Okay, your nervous system caught it. Stay with me here. Okay, we're so overstimulated by tragedy and so desensitized to it at the same time that nothing surprises us anymore. We're basically emotionally flatlined at this point. There's a mass shooting almost every single day in this country. And unless you're related to a victim, most people don't even grieve anymore. It's just like we've accepted it as, oh, well, this is just the way that it is. And as long as it doesn't affect me directly, well, I'll be over here on my phone. Getting closer yet? No? Okay. We've mistaken chaos for connection and noise for knowledge. We don't want peace. We want proof that our specific version of chaos is justified. Because if we ever stop and get quiet long enough to face what's really skewed, it's not them. Okay, it's not the different. It's not the crazy. It's not those people we would have to confront. It's us. Let's see if we can break the code here. Okay. Before we proceed, I'm going to challenge you here and try your absolute best to be objective. Okay. I'm going to say things that might just break the algorithm in half at this point, but here we go. There's a reason that we believe what we believe, okay? And there's a reason we call everyone else crazy if they don't believe the same thing. It's not because we're smarter. It's not because we're more enlightened. It's not because we're more educated. It's not because we're more awake than everybody else. It's because our brains are built to protect us first and seek truth second. Let me say that again. Your brain, as designed by whatever or whomever, has evolved, it has grown, and it has developed in such a way that its sole purpose is to guide your existence in a way that keeps you safe, not in a way that keeps you correct. Okay? Consider the Germans in the 1940s who were watching millions of innocent people be slaughtered because of beliefs, by the way, beliefs that many of them didn't share. So why didn't they speak up? Why didn't they join in on the fight against the horrific acts that were taking place in front of them? Because their brain was protecting them. Just in the same way that the ones who went along with it while believing in their own heart that this is not right, this is horrible. Anything sound familiar yet? Every belief that you hold started as a survival strategy in your brain. That's it. Not as divine wisdom, not as political virtue, but for your protection. You built your worldview to protect you from psychological discomfort in the same way that a bunker is built to protect from bombs. Okay, survival doesn't care about truth or accuracy. It cares about survival. Let's start with a heavy one, okay? Pro-life and pro-choice. Before the comment sections turn into the freaking Hunger Games, calm down, breathe. If we can't even talk about it, how the hell do any of us plan to gain any ground either way? I'm not here to pick sides, nor am I here to tear your side apart, okay? I'm here to show you what's underneath both. Pro-life people build their foundation on preservation. They see life as sacred, even in potential form. Okay, that belief often comes from religious roots or from a deep-seated fear of moral collapse among society. The idea that if we stop valuing life at its earliest stage, we'll stop valuing it at all. Their core driving factor is protection through morality. They want a world where every life matters, even the ones that have not been lived yet. Now flip it. Pro-choice people, they build their foundation on autonomy. They see control over one's body as sacred, even when it's messy, even when it's complicated. Their fear isn't about moral collapse. Their fear relates to oppression, the loss of agency, the idea that if we let institutions make decisions about our bodies, freedom then becomes conditional. Their core driving factor is protection through autonomy. Do you see it yet? No? Okay. Both sides are protecting life, just different kinds. One protects potential life, the other protects lived life. Okay? One fears decay over morality, the other fears decay of freedom. They're not necessarily opposites at the end of the day. In fact, they're mirror images, whether we want to admit that to ourselves or not. Because each side is fighting to preserve a world that they believe will crumble without their specific version of compassion. No? Still need more? Okay. Politics it is. Democrats and Republicans. Two wings on the same damn anxious bird. Liberals tend to score high in the openness and empathy categories. They thrive on new things, on change, on growth, on the idea of progress and moving forward. They fear oppression, inequality, and stagnation. Conservatives tend to score higher in the structure and conscientiousness categories. They value order, security, and tradition. They fear chaos. They fear decay. They fear the loss of a developed identity. Both sides want the same exact damn things. They both want safety. They both want security. They both want stability. One just builds bridges and the other builds fences. But the goal is the same. The goal is to keep the house from burning down. The problem is both sides are too busy fighting about where to put the extinguisher that they don't realize the house is already on fire. No? Still not there yet. Okay. Let's open up a real deep bag. Let's go to religion. For the purpose of this episode, we'll stick with Christians and atheists because, well, it's the internet's favorite cage match at the moment. Christians believe that meaning is found in faith, that suffering has purpose, that love conquers chaos, and that eternity redeems the temporary. Okay? Atheists believe that meaning is found in truth, in objective truth, that the universe doesn't owe you comfort, and that morality doesn't necessarily need mythology to justify it. Both sides want to feel peace in a senseless world. One finds it in surrender, the other finds it in control. But underneath both is the same primal fear, the unknown, what is yet to be defined, and the brain hates what it can't define. The irony of Christians and atheists is that they both worship something, even though atheists claim to not worship anything at all because they don't believe in a divine entity or anything, but the Christian bows to God, whereas the atheist bows to reason. They're different altars, but the same itch is being scratched. Still not convinced yet, huh? Okay, let's look at something else. How about the post-pandemic divide? Vaxxers versus anti-vaxxers. One group was terrified of the virus. The other was terrified of control. One trusted science, the other trusted skepticism. But they both claimed freedom while accusing the other of blindness. The vax crowd feared death. The anti-vax crowd feared deception. And both sides thought they were saving humanity. Let's not get that confused here. Both were scared out of their minds equally and equally unwilling to admit it. Their fear just wore different outfits to the argument. More? You got it. Majority versus minority. Okay. Oh, if we're not uncomfortable yet, this ought to do it. The majority fears loss, the loss of power, the loss of identity, the loss of influence. The minority fears invisibility, being erased, remaining unheard, and being expendable. Both fears are valid, and they're also both ancestral. Okay? The majority carries the trauma of responsibility. The minority carries the trauma of oppression. Both are exhausted, both are defensive, and both are too angry to see that they're fighting different symptoms of the same damn disease, which is the fear of being irrelevant. Every ideology, every argument, every side is just a coping mechanism dressed up as moral superiority. That's all it is. You may think you're defending your truth, but you're defending your nervous system. We call people crazy because they threaten our illusion of order and what is normal. It's easier to label someone as irrational than it is to question your own logic. The brain struggles to do that. That's why we love outrage. It makes us feel sane by comparison to everybody else. Think about it. You ever notice how people who scream, "Wake up!" the loudest are usually the ones the most asleep? They're not more awake. They're just as terrified as everybody else. They just found a belief system that feels like a nice warm blanket, and it's cold outside. Whether it's religion, whether it's politics, whether it's conspiracy theories, certainty is the hottest new drug on the street, and dopamine's on the corner, just dishing it out. We don't even really have beliefs anymore when you think about it. They're more like addictions at this point. Addictions to being right, to being safe, or hearing our opinions echoed back to us by people who look, think, and vote exactly like we do. We call it community on the surface, but it's really just codependency deep down when you think about it. And look, man, I get it. Certainty feels good. So what's more validating than certainty? It quiets all the noise. It gives the chaos a name. And you can't blame people for wanting to make sense of the senseless, right? But it's time we learn that certainty and truth are not the same thing. Certainty feels safe. Truth rarely feels safe because it's always being questioned. Certainty convinces us of something that we don't actually have. And the truth is that most of what you believe is not based on research or facts or data. It's based on what your brain thinks it needs to convince you of to survive. You didn't discover your beliefs. We covered this in episode 2, even a little bit in episode 1. You inherited them from your family, from your culture, from your trauma, from your geography, from your experiences. You built a worldview that made sense of your pain and your surroundings. And now you spend your adult life defending it to the death, even when it's wrong. So just so we're all clear, okay, all belief systems across the globe, if you've never been to every single country, met every single person, studied every single religion, every single political theory, every philosophy, every possible system of thought, how could you possibly know that you're right? You've lived one tiny human lifespan on one tiny rock in a tiny corner of a galaxy that doesn't even know you exist. And yet somehow we all convinced ourselves that our perspective is the universal truth among all existence. That, my friends, is not intelligence. It's arrogance and it's delusion. And honestly, it's probably just trying to protect you from the very knowledge that you're potentially insignificant in the grand scheme of the universe. It's a scary thought, right? And it's a thought that can convince you of things that aren't real, such as your own insignificance, because that's not real either. Your value is more than any of us can even begin to try to compute in our brain, which is why I think we struggle so much to understand it. So while all of us are moving through the world, having convinced ourselves that our version of life is the correct one, and we're all butting heads over it, the planet's literally on fire. The economies are crumbling, people are dying in the streets, and we're online arguing. That's how our fragile little egos are. We will set the world on fire just to keep our own reflection warm. You see, ego isn't just grandiosity. It's what makes you think that your pain is the only pain that matters, that your truth is the only one that exists, and that your sanity is the only version worth keeping. Maybe we're all just out here defending our own flavor of delusion. Maybe the most honest thing any of us can do is say, I don't know. But that's also one phrase that nobody wants to say, because saying I don't know, well, that makes you feel vulnerable. And vulnerability opens you up to curiosity, which might lead to empathy, which might lead to understanding. Oh my God, how terrifying. And if you understand at some point that someone you've been taught to hate your entire life is actually not that bad, your identity might start to collapse. And that's terrifying. So we double down. We dig trenches, we scroll for more ammunition, and the cycle just continues. Maybe the real insanity isn't our differences. Maybe the real insanity is our refusal to see the similarities. Because if you zoom out far enough, you realize something very simple, but also very uncomfortable. We're all just trying to survive the same damn storm. We're just holding different umbrellas. Now, we are going to do something a little different this episode. We're going to skip the segments because there's just a lot to this. Okay, we're on a very complicated topic today, and we've been exploring a lot of the negative and maladaptive components of our existence. So here, let's take a hard left and let's talk about all the good about humanity and some of the beauty that our brain sometimes blinds us to. Because you see, through all of our nonsense, all the contradictions, all the collective clownery, we're still incredible. You're incredible, like genuinely breathtaking. We are all walking anomalies that somehow manage to create love songs, rescue dogs, save the lives of others just by showing up. We can be at the brink of an existential breakdown and still hit the pause button to give ourselves enough time to help a stranger pick up groceries when the bag busts. That's crazy. You want to give crazy an actual definition? That's crazy. The same creature that builds bombs also builds playgrounds. This tells me that somewhere deep down, despite all of our disagreements, we haven't given up on each other yet. Not entirely, anyway. And I think that's the part of us that I want to talk about now. Because despite everything, despite the constant fighting, we still care. You might not think you do, but every time you laugh at a meme, every time you hold a door for somebody, every time you send a check-in text to somebody or cry in a movie theater, right, especially for a movie that you swore you wasn't going to cry in, that's humanity peeking through the armor. That's proof that the light in you hasn't gone out yet. It's just learning how to survive in the dark. With everything going on in this crazy-ass world right now, you might feel jaded. You might feel cynical. You might feel even a little numb. But underneath all that, you're still the kid who wanted to make people smile. You're still the dreamer who thought the world could still be good. You're still the soul that believed love could fix everything. And you were right to believe that, because it can. Because beneath all the programming, beneath all the politics and projections and panic, people are mostly good. I've sat with hundreds of first responders after tragedy, survivors of horrific trauma, people who have seen the absolute worst and been a part of the absolute worst of humanity. And you want to know what I've learned? The light never really leaves. Even in the ashes, it still glows a little bit. Even in the wreckage, it still finds a way to rebuild, even if just a block at a time. Humanity really is resilient to the point of being absurd, if we're really thinking about it. We keep getting up. We keep knocking the dust off, and we keep going. Even if we're moving just a little bit slower, we bury people we love, man, and still find ways to laugh. We lose everything and still find ways to love again. We sometimes feel broken, betrayed, disappointed, sure. And somehow we still show up for other people. I'd like to think that's proof that maybe we're designed to outlove the chaos. Because you know what blows my mind? We're still here. After everything, after all the bullcrap, all the heartbreaks, the losses that split us in half, we still get up and we still try again. That's what I think the real beauty is of humanity. Not the filtered motivational poster bullcrap kind of beauty, but the gritty, nasty kind, the kind that survives something, the kind that has stretch marks and scars and dark humor, the kind that limps into another day and says, well, let's see what fresh hell this one's got, and still somehow find a way to laugh through it and survive it. That's what I love about people. We keep showing up. We lose, we break, we burn out, and we're here, showing up anyway. Sometimes we cry in parking lots, wipe our faces, and walk back in like nothing at all happened. We get hurt and still try to find a way to love again. We get betrayed and still believe there's good out there somewhere in the world. We build, we lose, we rebuild every damn time. I believe that's proof that we're built for something stronger than our pain. And that's the part of your life that your brain doesn't always let you see. The beauty of your own survival, man, the small, quiet miracles that you perform every single day. You think you're just existing, just moving through the world. You are, but you're not at the same time. You're rewriting your story every time you choose to breathe instead of just breaking. Every time you don't let the bitterness win. Every time you stop yourself from matching someone else's darkness and choose to protect your own peace instead. That's evolution taking place in real time. You're literally outgrowing the version of humanity that taught you to survive by fighting over everything. You're learning how to live by loving any damn way. And maybe that's what being a human is really all about. Maybe that's what it really means. Not being perfect, but being willing. Willing to try. Willing to care again after somebody's deceived you. Willing to hope even when you've seen too much to believe hope still exists. You're not naive for having hope in this ridiculous world. You're brave for keeping it. So, if nobody's told you today, if nobody's told you lately, let me be the one to do it. You're doing better than you think. You've survived things that most people can't even talk about. You've lost versions of yourself that you thought you'd never live without. And somehow, you're still here. You're still fighting. You're still finding new ones. That's not dumb luck, pal. That's strength. That's growth. That's resilience. You, yes, you are proof that light still leaks through the darkness. Proof that laughter can still exist in the same body that's drowning in grief. That humanity, for all its flaws, all of our collective bullcrap, is still worth betting on. Because you're a part of it. I'm a part of it. We're all a part of it. So before you go spiraling back out into the noise, here's something for you. You're not behind. You're becoming. You're not broken. You're rebuilding. You're not too much. You're just more real than society would like for you to be. And this world is starving for that. Because when you strip away all the noise, you take away the politics, the pain, the pride, what's left is just us. Just people. Bruised in different ways, brilliant in others, terrified all the same, and trying our best with what we've got. Every one of us are made from the same borrowed stardust, carrying the same desire to be seen, to be safe, and to be loved. None of us are above or beneath anyone else. None of our beliefs are more important than that of others, nor are the beliefs of others more important than us. So be gentle with yourself. Be gentle with them. Be gentle with all of it. Because at the end of the day, we're all fragments of the same damn heartbeat, learning to remember that we belong to each other. Imagine if we woke up tomorrow and didn't see the differences that's taken our entire lives to embed into our psyche. Imagine if we all saw ourselves in the same people we ignore or push away. How confident and secure would all of us be if we moved through the world not looking for someone to beat all the time, but someone to understand, not looking for proof that we're right, but reminders that we're connected. Imagine if we stopped measuring worth in wins and started measuring it in compassion. If we stopped guarding our hearts like territory and started treating them like bridges. The world wouldn't heal overnight, but maybe we would start to. Because once you see yourself and everyone else, hate doesn't make sense anymore. Well, I think that ought to do it for episode 3. I appreciate you hanging out with me in this dimly lit corner of questionable coping skills. And if this episode touched your soul, if you learned something from it, if you enjoyed it, do me a favor. Like, share, comment, subscribe. And if you haven't yet, check out the book. It's called Welcome to the Shift Show, How to Love Yourself in a World That Won't. It dives a little deeper into some of the, real and raw stuff that we talk about here on the Shift Show every week. Speaking of every week, I hope to see you next week. My name is Adam Blevins, and this has been the Shift Show. Try to keep yourself sane out there, and come on back when the world gets too loud.